Gynhadledd, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Mae hi'n braf iawn bod yn ôl yma yng Nghas Newydd, dinas sydd iddi ran pwysig iawn yn hanes ag yn nyfodol Cymru hefyd. O'n i'n arwain dadl yn y cynulliad yr wythnos yma yn sôn am sut y gall Cymru y dyfodol gael ei ysbrydoli gan Gymru y gorffennol, ac mae hynny yn sicr yn wir yn achos Cas Newydd. Dinas y siartwyr ac ar un adeg prif borthladd glo Cymru, a dinas fydd yn chwarae rhan bwysig iawn, dwi'n gwybod, wrth i Gymru dyfu yn ei hyder cenedlaethol. Y tro diwetha o'n i yn y neuadd hyfryd yma, dwi'n meddwl mi o'n i'n cyflwyno rhaglen drafod dyledu i'r BBC ar ddyfodol y celfyddydau, os dwi'n cofio yn iawn. A ti ar un cyfnod, mi nes i gyflwyno rhaglen drafod dyledu arall yma yng Ngwent, a hynny o etholiad Blaenau Gwent. A dwi'n cofio cymaint o argraff gafodd i greu arna i bryd hynny gan ymgeisydd ifanc Plaid Cymru. Wel, dwi'n falch iawn bellach o gael bod yn gyd aelod cynulliad i Steffan Lewis, ac mae pobl de-ddwyrain Cymru yn ffodus iawn i'w gael o yn gynrychiolydd arnyn nhw. Mae Steffan yn ddyn y de-ddwyrain o'i goryn i'w sawdl, ac mae o'n symbol clir, dwi'n meddwl, bod Plaid Cymru yn blaid i bob rhan o Gymru. Da ni'n wynebu'r etholiadau lleol yma yn y de-ddwyrain, fel da ni'n wynebu nhw ym mhobman, efo adduned i frwydro dros yn cymunedau, frwydro dros chwarae teg i bobl yn lle bynnag y maha nhw, beth bynnag ydy i cefndir nhw. Ac mi gynigiwn ni weledigaeth newydd o sut y gall Cymru, bob rhan o Gymru, gael dyfodol llawer mwy ffyniannus a llawer mwy cyffroes na'r hyn sydd ganddo ni ar hyn o bryd. Yr un ydy'r materion craidd sydd yn bwysig ym mywydau pobl y de-ddwyrain, neu'r gogledd orllewin a phob man arall rhwng y ddau begwn yna. Swyddi, iechyd, trafnidiaeth, addysg, cyfleoedd, tegwch. Ac mae'n bwysig bod ni'n wynebu'r heriau yna fel un genedl. Ar y cwestiwn mwyaf llosg sy'n yn wynebu ni ar hyn o bryd, canlyniadau a goblygiadau y referendwm ym mis Mehefin, unwaith eto mae eisiau ni ddatblygu llais cenedlaethol i warchod yn buddiannau ni fel cenedl yn wyneb y bygythiad sy'n o'n blaenau ni. Mae Plaid Cymru wedi bod yn arwain yn hynny o beth. Mi wna i stopio siarad am Steffan Lewis am funud, dwi'n eisiau gwneud iddo fo gochi, ond mae Steffan ynghyd a Jonathan Edwards yn hir cyffredin, David Wigley yn hir arglwyddi, Jill Evans wrth gwrs ym Mrwsel, wedi bod yn allweddol wrth arwain y gwaith i Blaid Cymru ac ar ran pobl Cymru ar yr ymateb i'r referendwm. A heb y gwaith yna, fydda na ddim papur gwyn yn amlinellu y prif fygythiadau i Gymru, yn gorfodi Llywodraeth Cymru i ddeffro ac yn rhoi'r achos pan bod rhaid i Lywodraeth Prydain ymateb i amgylchiadau Cymru yn benodol. Doedd na ddim cyd-destun Cymreig i'r referendwm. Referendwm Prydeinig oedd o. Gweitha'n ymdrechion ni i rybuddio pobl Cymru am be oedd yn yfantol iddyn nhw. Rwan, wrth gwrs, move on, medda'r asgell dded. Just derbyniwch y peth. Derbyn bod y canlyniad fel ag yr oedd o, ie. Gwrando ar y rhesymau pam y pleidleisiodd pobl fel ag y gnythau nhw, ie. Ond derbyn yn dawel Brexit caled Farage a May, ond mi fydda hi'n foesol anghyfrifol i ymdawelu. Mae'n rhaid arwain y drafodaeth rwan efo pobl Cymru fel bod pobl Cymru yn deall goblygiadau'r hyn sy'n o'n blaen ni. Mae'n rhyfeddol yn dydy hi pa mor fuan y gnath addewidion yr ymgyrch dros adael yr Undeb Ewropeaidd ddechrau disgyn yn ddarna. Y 350 o filiynau bunna yr wythnos i'r NHS, er enghraifft, a'r cyfaddefiad yn syth ar ôl y bleidlais mwy na lai, mae lol oedd hynny. Mae bron yn sicr fod y celwydd yna yn rhan mawr o'r rheswm dros y bleidlais i adael. Allwn ni ddim maddau y celwydd yna a gallwn ni ddim anghofio. To me, it says a lot that the promise over health spending, the £350 million for the NHS, was so influential in the EU referendum. Its influence came from the fact that this was a promise that played on a matter that is so important to people, the future of the NHS. It was here in Gwent that Aneurin Bevan found his inspiration, found the strength to go on and establish the NHS. But here, like in the rest of Wales, there's a realisation that his vision is being held back from its potential. There is excellence in the NHS in Wales. Devoted, skilled staff, second to none. We're lucky to have them, and we can't thank them enough. But they're being asked to do more and more through lack of government support to deliver the impossible. Since I became Plaid Cymru's Shadow Secretary for Health and Social Care, I've noticed a pattern of behaviour whenever it comes to an issue on which Labour has a poor record. There are several issues, of course, where Labour should be running the NHS in a better way: recruitment of doctors and nurses, management of waiting lists for diagnosis and treatment, and, of course, preparing for the pressures of winter that we talk about year after year after year, as if winter comes as a surprise. People don't want to lose the hope that the NHS really can deliver on Bevan's vision. But Labour's approach to the issues raised about the NHS's performance often goes through a process similar to what we might recognise as the responses to a loss. The 5 stages of grief, if you like. At first, there's denial of the problem. We'll hear comments like, those figures can't be compared. That was an isolated incident. Then we'll move on to the second stage, anger. They'll say, you're politicising the NHS when we point out a problem. We'll be told you're attacking hard-working staff. They might even say that the media isn't getting it right. Why does that sound familiar? But when the issue we're raising won't go away, Labour will then move on to the third stage, bargaining. They'll announce a new initiative, perhaps, to tackle the problem. They'll offer the patients who are concerned about performance a review on the way forward. And they'll promise us in the chamber, in the Assembly, that things will be better by this time next year. You know, when my predecessor as Shadow Health Minister, Elin Jones, first raised the issue of cancer waiting targets being repeatedly missed, both the then Health Minister and the First Minister made a promise to the Assembly. They promised the targets would be hit by October 2013. It's now March 2017, and those targets still haven't been met. And performance is still as bad today, with those promises quietly forgotten. But when we continue to highlight poor performance after the bargaining, we then see depression. We'll be told that Wales is just too ill compared to others, which is sort of an echo of the argument that we're too poor to self-govern. It's about as accurate as well. It was dispelled by the Audit Office several years ago. We'll also be told that the Barnett formula is so unfair, and Labour simply doesn't have the resources to fully meet the needs of Wales. I'm sorry, but the extra funds that we do need simply don't explain the performance gap, particularly when we can point to numerous examples of incompetence, of financial waste, such as spending hundreds of millions of pounds on agency staff because of the failure to plan the workforce properly. And of course, they'll blame patients for being too ill. They'll blame high attendance at A&E on people who should have gone to the GP. They'll blame long waiting times on patients being inappropriately referred for treatment. They'll blame the high rates of obesity and smoking. A problem, hugely, but they're blaming obesity and smoking in Wales as if everybody in Scotland and England live perfectly healthy lifestyles. It's made to seem as if poor performance is inevitable. What can they do? They've only been in government, after all, running the Welsh NHS for 18 years. Then, of course, there's the fifth stage, acceptance. Sadly, this hasn't happened yet. We still haven't seen Labour accepting that our health service can and should do better for Wales, genuinely. Well, Plaid Cymru does accept that, and that's why we have focused on solving problems, not denying them and not deciding that they're somehow inevitable. We will train and recruit doctors we need for all parts of Wales, including the establishment of medical education in the north. We do want to retain the nurse bursary. We will set ambitious targets for cancer diagnosis that cancer charities themselves want and that the Welsh Government continues to deny are needed to improve survival rates. And we'll focus on making our NHS as good as anywhere in the world and not just breathe a sigh of relief when new figures aren't quite as bad as they could be or were expected to be. That's not good enough. Is finance a problem for health, like the rest of the public service in Wales? Of course it is. Of course it is. Wales is being starved of funding by Tory austerity, just like it was by Labour's refusal to change funding formulas. Remember that. But it's a pretty grim mix that we have now. The resolute austerity of the Tories and the resolute lethargy of Labour, seeking to run Wales like managers. Don't get me wrong, a good manager can work wonders. But Labour isn't managing, isn't coping. And frankly, we don't need just management. We need vision, we need leadership. That's what Plaid Cymru is offering. It's time for Wales to say we can do better. It's time for Wales to say, let's aim higher. It's time for Wales to unite in search of a new way of doing things. It's time for Wales. Diolch yn fawr.